Hello and welcome. I'm Sally Krawcheck, President of Global Wealth and Investment Management for Bank of America and for Merrill Lynch. Let's take a look at the White House budget for the current fiscal year. Federal spending is expected to reach $3.8 trillion, yet revenues are only expected to be $2.2 trillion, leaving a budget gap of $1.6 trillion. This means that more than 40% of all government spending this year will be paid for with borrowed money. At this level, our total national debt is almost equal to our nation's gross domestic product, or the total of all goods and services Americans produce in a year. Mandatory spending on entitlement programs, including Social Security and Medicare, now account for more than 60% of federal outlays. Defense spending makes up another 20%, while about 6% goes toward interest on our debt. That leaves only 12% of the budget to fund every other federal agency, program, and activity. In other words, the amount of the federal pie that's now on the table for slicing is a fairly paltry piece to begin with. A lack of clear resolution to our fiscal situation could also trigger a loss of confidence among international investors who together own almost half of our debt. If countries like China and Japan were to decide that U.S. Treasuries were no longer a good investment, we could see a weakening of the dollar and a spike in interest rates. In fact, growth in household savings and private investment in the U.S. will almost offset the amount of the federal deficit in the current year. This pickup in private sector stimulus could well be a critical part of the solution. The key questions are, what will the solutions be? And will they be enough to solve the problem before it's too late? Joining me to give his perspective on this is Mark Zandi, Chief Economist with Moody's Analytics. And it's my pleasure to welcome him to the table with me today. Mark, thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Sally. I appreciate the opportunity.
Now, given the fiscal